Okay. There we go. So we can make sure we get it recorded. It looks like we have over 40 people in attendance today. That's fantastic. We're hoping that a few more will show up. So I'll just kind of go over a couple of things in the beginning. My name is Penny Thomas. I'm the Education and Outreach Specialist here at LAGERS. And today, this format, I have everybody is muted right off the bat, but if you have a question during the presentation now or after the presentation, I'll be on for a couple minutes afterwards. You can always go to the Q&A section. If you move your cursor to the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen, you'll see Q&A or chat, and either one of those you can use to type in your questions. Okay, so we will get started here in just a second. Okay, and this is a new format that we're using for our presentation today. It's the first time that I've used this actual presentation in this format. So hopefully everything will go well. If not, please be patient. I'll make sure we get it going. What you should see on the screen is a slide that says LAGERS Fundamentals, and it has 3 gentlemen that are working on the road. If you cannot see that, or if you're not seeing that, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and move forward. All right. So this presentation won't last any more than a half an hour. And it's a basic understanding of how LAGERS works. And it just gives you some basic information about LAGERS. Most of the information that we present in this particular webinar, we also present like at the beginning in a shortened form of our pre-retirement seminars. And sometimes there's part of it that we also present in our lunch breaks. And even some parts that we present in other webinars. And I will make reference to other webinars as we go through, because there are sections within the fundamentals that we actually have particular webinars that are associated with those topics. But today it's just going to be more of a bigger picture. Okay, so one of the first and foremost things that I want to talk about is the expansion of LAGERS. LAGERS started very small in 1968, but we have grown to over 840 employers in the state of Missouri, which is just unbelievable. And we have nearly 60,000 public employees that are members of LAGERS. And what the most important thing to remember is that this is a valuable tool in helping plan and prepare for your financial future, your financial security. And this is a lifetime benefit that you can expect for the rest of your life. You cannot outlive your LAGERS. So that's one of the, I think, most special things about LAGERS. Let's go on to talk about exactly how it works, because I really want to talk about what LAGERS is not. Many people assume that LAGERS is just the same as any other private sector retirement plan, and those are mostly defined contribution plans, like a 401k. Okay, if you have a 401k out there, what that is a defined contribution plan. You decide how much you're putting in towards it, or the employer is matching or putting in themselves. And it's based on that account balance. However much you put in, your account balance grows and grows. And then when you retire, that's what you have to use in retirement. You can, in that case, outlive your benefit, your retirement plan. If you are fortunate enough to live long enough that would go to a zero balance. But with loggers, it's different. We are not based on an account balance. If you were to call in and ask us, what is my account balance for retirement? We wouldn't be able to give you one, but what we could give you is an estimate of how much you will receive every month for the rest of your life in retirement. And the way that we're able to do that is to use our standard formula that we use for all of our benefits. And that's on the screen right now. And I'm hoping that everybody can see it. The defined benefit plan is the benefit program, or sometimes we refer to it as the benefit multiplier. And that's anywhere from 1% to 2%, or if you don't pay into Social Security, your employer could have elected the 2.5%. times how much you make, your final average salary. And usually this is done in months, okay? Your monthly salary. So your program level times, or your program multiplier, times how much you make, times how long you work. How many years of credited service do you have in at Loggers? How many will you have whenever you retire? That's the number you'll need to put in the formula to figure out how much you will receive from Loggers every month for the rest of your life. Okay, again, what do you receive from Loggers? You are provided with guaranteed, protected lifetime income. Okay, and I keep saying one of the best things about Loggers, but every time I turn around, it's like, oh, this is another great thing about Loggers. But really, one of the best things is that it's not affected by market swings. Your benefit as an employee is not affected by market swings. Okay, why? Well, if you go back and you look at that formula, there's nothing about any kind of market play in there at all. Again, it's your benefit multiplier times how long you work times how much you get paid. Okay. Now, the employer may occasionally see some upward pressure on what they have to pay in order to provide you with this benefit. And sometimes they don't have to pay as much. There's less pressure on their contribution amount. Okay. So again, how much your employer pays does not affect in any way how much you're going to receive in retirement, okay? There are ranges throughout Loggers. Some pay as little as 4%, some pay as much as 20 some odd percent of salary. But what is important is that you know your benefit is based on how long you work, how much you get paid, and that multiplier. I think I'm hoping we have a screen about the multipliers here coming up, and we will talk about that coming up. But I do want to talk about eligibility, because I've been talking a lot about, oh, well, you're going to get this every month for the rest of your life. But when can you start receiving that payment? When can you start receiving your Loggers? Well, first of all, you have to be vested. And with Loggers, that means you have to have worked for a Loggers entity for 60 months or 5 years, okay? Now, that can be split up into different Loggers employers. Say you worked for Cole County for 2 years, and then you went to the city of Jefferson City for 3 years. Those can be put together as long as there's not a gap of more than 10 years. And then you have your 5 years of vesting service available. So once you are vested, that's number one. That's the first thing you have to have in order to start receiving your benefits. But then the second thing is to be age eligible, okay? Now, as far as Loggers is concerned, regular retirement or normal retirement age for a general department is age 60. You can retire at age 60 as long as you're vested, and you'll receive your full benefits. Okay. Now, if you are police or fire, your benefits can start at age 55. Full benefits can start with your retirement at age 55 as long as you're vested. Now, in some cases, employers have elected to go to our new public safety. If you are a jailer or a dispatcher, EMS, if you are a person who is considered under the public safety status, then you could potentially have the age of 55 retirement, but your employer has to elect that. It's not automatic, okay? So with that said, you can also retire early. If you're general department, you could retire at age 55. However, there is a reduction in how much you receive every month. Where before you would have received 100%, of your benefit, here there's a reduction. It's 0.5% for every month you are younger than your normal retirement age. So a half a percent reduction. So if we're looking at this yearly, that would be 6%, 0.5% a month, 6% a year. So if you're a general employee and you wanted to retire right at age 55, that's 5 years. So 5 years times a 6% reduction is 30%. So you would only be receiving 70% of your benefit, okay? Now, police and fire, and if you're public safety and have the age 55 retirement, you can do the same thing. You can retire up to 5 years early. It's going to be the same calculation. It's that minus 0.5% every month you are younger than age 55 in that case, okay? And you, police, fire, and public safety, if your employer has elected it, you can retire at age 50. But again, with that minus 0.5% every month you are younger, if you went those 5 years early, it'd be a reduction of 30%. We also have, along with our normal retirement, our rule of 80. And there are some employers who have elected rule of 80. And what this is once the sum of your age and the number of years of service credit you have worked, once that equals 80, then you can start drawing your full benefits, okay? So if you started working when you were 20 years old and you worked for 30 years, well, you're only 50 if you started at 20, but if you worked 30 years plus 50 years of age is 80. You could retire, okay? So that's how that works. Now, there are some caveats to the rule of 80, or some rules, I should say, more than anything. First one on the screen, only eligible if you go directly from working into retirement. So you have to go directly from working for a rule of 80 entity into retirement. So it's not something that you can quit working and then eventually get to what you consider your age of 80 or age of eligibility with the rule of 80 and then retire at the rule of 80. It doesn't work that way. It works that way if you go straight from working into retirement. And that's what a deferred retirement, if you quit working 10 years before you retire. And then you go back, you have to retire with normal retirement age, which if you're general, it'd be 60. And if you're police, fire, or public safety, it'd be 55. Okay, so rule of 80 does not work on those deferred retirements. And you are not required to retire when you reach your rule of 80 age. We're not going to force anybody out. So if you reach your rule of 80 age and you're like, oh, I'm not ready to retire, I want to keep working, you're going to continue to earn service credit every month you continue to work. No one's going to force you out, okay? You can continue and earn service credit until you're ready. If your rule of 80 age is actually greater than your normal retirement age, so if it's greater than 60 and you're a general employee, like your rule of 80 age, it won't hit until you're 62. Well, we're not going to make you wait until you're 62. You can just throw the rule of 80 out and retire at normal retirement age 60, with full benefits. Okay, same thing for police, firefighters, and elected public safety. If your rule of 80 age is beyond 55 for them, then we're not going to make you wait until you reach that rule of 80 age. You can retire at 55, okay, with full benefits for police, fire, and elected public safety. All right, are there any questions on that? I'm not seeing any come in. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Again, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the formula that is used is the employer's benefit program or multiplier times how much you make times how long you work. That's the formula we use. And this is an example of one. Here, the employer has the multiplier of 1.5%, or what we call the L7 program. Okay, so if you have the L7 program, that's 1.5% as your multiplier. Here, it's been converted into a decimal, 0.015, times your monthly average. Okay, so here their monthly average was $3,500 a month, and they had worked for 25 years. So what we do is multiply 0.015 times 3,500 times 25, and we get $1,312. That's how much this person would receive every month for the rest of their life. Okay. If you were to call us again and ask for that account balance, we wouldn't give it to you, but we could do something like this and figure out what your monthly benefit would be. We can even run a benefit estimate if you were to provide us with a month and year that you wish to retire, and maybe a little bit more information, and we can get you actually some pretty accurate dollar amounts. Okay. We did have a question come in, so I want to kind of throw this out there for everybody because it's worth saying to all here. So when you retire after the rule of 80, you cannot work anywhere to receive full benefits, or cannot just work for another government agency with loggers. Example, if you retire the rule of 80, then go work in the private sector, will you still receive your full benefit? Okay, yes, you will still receive your full benefit. You can retire from loggers with the rule of 80 and go work somewhere else that's not loggers, and that won't affect your monthly benefit. And I'm hoping I got that right or understood the question. Okay, yes, as long as it's not a loggers employer, you are able, whether you retire at rule of 80 or normal retirement, either one, you have the ability to go and work for another entity as long as they're not loggers. If they don't have loggers, you can work full-time, part-time, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, but if you're thinking about working after retirement, I encourage you to go to a pre-retirement seminar, because we talk about all of the different ways that you are able to still work for another loggers employer too, whether it's part-time or full-time. We explain what part-time means. We explain what you would have to do in order to go to another full-time loggers. The one thing that you can't do and continue to receive your monthly amount is go back and work full-time for the same entity from which you just retired from. So if you retired with a rule of 80 from a loggers entity, you cannot just come right back and start working full-time there again. In that case, we would have to suspend your benefit. Okay, but if you go somewhere else and work, that's not a problem at all. Okay, let's go on and look at this quick and easy estimate. A lot of people want to know really quickly, how much am I going to get? How much can I expect whenever I retire? And one of the easiest ways for us to answer that is to say, okay, find out what your multiplier is. If you have an L1, that means you have 1% multiplier. An L3 is 1.25, L7 is 1.5, L12 is 1.75, and the L6 is 2%. Okay, so you take that multiplier and multiply it by how many years you will have of service credit when you retire. So in this case, we've lined 20 years up. We've said, okay, this person has worked 20 years. If they had the L1 program with the 1% multiplier, they would receive 20%, 1% times 20, 20%, 20% of their pre-retirement income every month, okay? That same person, if they were to work for an employer that had the L6, the 2% times 20 is 40%. So they will get 40% of their pre-retirement income every month for the rest of their life. So it really matters what your multiplier is, okay? Now there's a question, how do you know what multiplier you are at? One of the easiest ways is to ask the person who does your loggers, or you can give us a call. We can immediately find out for you. You can look on our website at molagers.org. There's a section on there that says, that shows you all of the membership, all of our employers that are part of loggers. And so you can look and find yours and it will tell you what level you're at. Now, there are some out there that have an LT program, an LT4 or an LT8. If that is the case, that's a little bit different, okay? Now, if you have an LT, what that means is life and temporary. So that temporary part means that your multiplier is going to be at 2% until you reach age 65. Okay, most of you. There's still a couple out there that have the 62, but most have the 65. Once you reach age 65, it goes down to the base multiplier. So again, if you have LT8, I believe that goes down to the 1.5%. So it will be at 2% until you turn 65, and then it goes down to a base rate. Okay. All right. I have a couple of questions here, so we're going to or find out here. Are the years actual years or in 5 or 10 year increments? Okay, so they're actual years. Like you can go, in fact, whenever you actually retire, we go down and we do month by month. We make sure every month that you got service credit, you're going to get credit for that. For this particular quick and easy estimate, you don't have to do it in 5, 10, 15, 20 increments. No, you can do it 1% times 17 years. So 1% times 17 is 17%. If you have the 2% times 17 years, oh, I have to do math now. Hold on. You get my drift. You can do the 2% times 17, and that will get you your percentage of how much you will receive every month for the rest of your life. Okay, so it doesn't have to go in multipliers of 5 or 10 years. Okay. All right. I'm hoping I'm answering the questions that are out there. I think I've got them all. Okay, good questions. Good questions coming in. All right. Now this one is one that not everybody knows. There are many employers out there who pay for the entire benefit. The employee doesn't have to pay anything. Okay. Now, if you recall earlier, I said it doesn't matter how much the employer pays for your benefit won't change. That's true. It also doesn't matter how much your employer has elected for you to contribute to the payment of the benefit. The employer can say, okay, we need help paying for this. Okay, our contribution is 12% of payroll every month, but we're not going to be able to afford that. So we're going to need the employees to help out if they want to keep this benefit. So they say, okay, employees, we want you to help by paying 4% of this. So you would pay 4% of your benefit in order to help the employer purchase the benefit for you. Okay, so every employer out there has a choice of doing 0, 2, 4, or 6% for employee contributions. So you would either pay in 0, 2, 4, or 6%. All right. Now, I'm going to stress again, if we get the question, can I contribute more or less than what my employer chooses for the employee contributions? So if your employer has you paying 0%, can I put 4% in of my own and get a bigger outcome, get a bigger check every month for the rest of my life? No, because that's not the way it works. Again, we use that formula, which is the multiplier times how long you work times how much you get paid. Okay, so the main ways that you can increase how much you get in retirement is to work longer or get paid more, or if your employer increases their multiplier. Okay, so those are the way. Now it does say, is there any other way to increase my future retirement savings? Now, if we're talking retirement savings as a whole, yes. In fact, we encourage that, supplementing with one of those DC plans, those defined contribution plans, an IRA, whatever you can do in order to save for retirement alongside loggers, okay? And then of course we have the work longer, earn higher wages. And the last thing is purchasing service. Here at Loggers, we do have the option of purchasing service. You cannot purchase air service. And basically, you can purchase military time up to 4 years of active military duty. You do have to be an active member, Loggers member, to purchase this service. Everybody's purchase amount will be different. It's based on your salary, and it's based on how much service credit you have, and when you're going to retire. Those are the things that figure into the cost of that. So there's military service, and if you've worked for another Missouri public entity, not federal, but Missouri public entity, and you were not covered under a retirement plan like Loggers, then you may have the option of purchasing your years of service there. And if you're interested in that, you can go to our website and learn more at mologgers.org, or you can contact Dana. She would be the person you would go to find out how much it would cost to purchase your service. So if you call us at our 800 number, Dana is the go-to person for that. Now, we have another question that came in. It says, what about getting like overtime pay, like a pay and a half with overtime? As far as pay and a half with overtime, that does figure in to your wages, if you will. So every month, your wages are reported to Loggers, okay? Now, if you have overtime, that's going to be included on those wages. So when we go to find your final average salary in the end, we're going to see that overtime pay as well. And that's going to be figured in to the final average salary if it falls within the time period. Okay. And most employers, well, all employers have the choice of either doing a 3-year or 5-year final average salary. Most of the time it's either the last 3 or 5 years, but we actually go back 10 years and take the highest consecutive 3 or 5 years. And again, we talk more about that in some other webinars as well. So, okay, I think that's it. Again, what happens if I leave before retirement? What happens to my benefit? Well, I encourage you right off the bat to go online under mologgers.org, find the event that says what happens when you leave Loggers covered service. Okay, because there's all kinds of different things that can happen or choices that you may have, okay? Even if you're not vested, even if you haven't worked those 5 years, it's important to know what all of those options are and what happens to those benefits. And it's almost too much for me to talk in this generalized session. So again, I encourage you to go either to molagers.org and find it on our website, or go to molagers.org, find the events tab, and sign up for the webinar about leaving loggers covered employment. Okay. Now, as far as income replacement, many experts will tell you that right now, to maintain the same lifestyle you have into retirement that you do right now, it's going to take about 80 to 85% of your pre-retirement income. Okay, so that's something to anticipate. So whenever you start thinking about what's the percentage of my pre-retirement income that I'm going to get if I have that 1% multiplier and I've worked for 20 years and I retire, well, that 1% times 20 is 20%. That would give you 20%. You're still needing about 60 to 65 more percent to maintain your current lifestyle. So that's something to consider. Social Security right now pays in about 40%. It may not always be that much. And we talk a little bit more about that in some other webinars as well. But that doesn't kick in until you're about 67 or even beyond. Okay. So that's a gap that if you do plan on retiring early, make sure that you have enough of your own savings to cover that period of time. Now, if you have the 2% multiplier and you've worked for 20 years, 2% times 20, that's 40%. You're going to have 40%. So you're almost halfway there. Once Social Security kicks in, you should be setting pretty good. But it's always beneficial to save as much as you can on your own as well. Okay, I do want to show that there is quite an exceptional value to your loggers benefit. Everything that I've talked about so far makes it look like it's a small amount, like $1,312 a month. That doesn't seem like a whole lot, but if you think about being a lifetime benefit and how long people are living now, that actually it measures up to quite a bit. And we took an example here, somebody who retired at age 60. They had worked for a loggers entity for 25 years. For 25 years. They have a $60,000 final average annual salary, okay? And that entity that they worked for had the 1.5% or the L7 program level multiplier. After 10 years in retirement, they will have received $225,000 in loggers benefits. After 10 years. After 15 years, $337,500. After 20 years, $450,000. And by the time they were 85, over $500,000. So yeah, it does add up. It adds up quite a bit. And the longer that you survive, the more it adds up. And the more to think about too, you know, whenever you go to saving, if you're anticipated to live longer, like I know that my family tends to live till about their mid 80s. My husband's family, the males on that side, tend to live in their mid 60s at most. So believe it or not, I mean, we actually think about these type of things whenever it comes to planning our retirements. I'm going to need more money because I think I will be living longer. And so whenever it comes time to measure our retirements and decide what we need to do, we're always looking at make sure that I have enough money to continue on. So that's always something to look at. Okay. Now, as a loggers member, you automatically you have this disability and survivor benefit option. Okay. We do have a webinar that's all about disability and survivor benefits as well. So if you are interested in learning more about the disability and survivor benefits, I encourage you to look for that webinar and enroll or register for that. We also have information again on our website at molagers.org. But as it says, a LAGERS member or survivor may be eligible for a monthly disability or survivor benefit in the event of a permanent disability or death. So just know that that is out there, especially if you're going to look for additional life insurance or disability, long-term disability insurance. If you're looking for that extra, know what you have already, okay? So I encourage you to go to the webinar or our website. And I had said that this was going to last about a half an hour, and I'm pretty close to it. We encourage everybody to stay connected with LAGERS. One of the best ways to do it is to hop online and go to molagers.org. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see access to our Facebook, our Twitter, our LinkedIn, our Vimeo accounts. We have a YouTube account. So definitely stay connected with us. Okay, I am going to stay on the line for a couple more minutes for anybody who has additional questions. But other than that, I am finished with my overview of your LAGERS benefits, the fundamentals. So I thank you so much for being here today, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.